Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 33 of Global Contenders, the review series for Gran Turismo's touring car lineup. And this particular vehicle probably doesn't shout out and grab you as an obvious choice of touring car, but it does fall within very similar subcategories and counterparts to touring car racing. And the vehicle is the Honda Civic, the SI, and this is the Motul Civic race car. As far as race cars go, not just touring cars but race cars in general, this is a very, very affordable one. It's right down there with stuff like the Beetle Cup car in terms of affordability. 45 grand for what is, in the case of this vehicle, a real machine. A pretty historically relevant one as far as Civics go. Is a pretty good deal. 45 grand is peanuts, really, for a racing car. So what do you actually get for that? Because in road-going form, this Civic is an excellent track car, but isn't necessarily that strong in a straight line. So how does the touring car version compare? Well, you get a 1.5 litre engine, like the road car. It's also front-wheel drive, not too surprisingly, and fully tuned, it puts out some pretty good numbers. That relatively small engine can be tuned up to 341 horsepower, 205 foot-pounds of torque, which is not as impressive, but not too surprising at the same time. It weighs in at 890 kilos, which is probably where you'd expect it to be, and the horsepower per tonne is 383, which, given the power that it's got to work with, isn't bad at all. The fully tuned PP, even considering that it is a racing version, isn't that much higher, really, than the road-going version if you tune that one up as well. 493 PP is potentially quite useful for a vehicle like this. So for 45 grand, you do get some pretty good numbers. In fact, in some ways, it's better than stuff like the Beetle Cup car or the Lupos, etc. So the question is, can it convert those pretty decent numbers and good affordability into actual race-winning potential? Well, basically this car is, and this won't really be a surprise to many people, if anyone, an exaggerated version, if you will, of the road-going vehicle. It has the exact same advantages and pretty much the same disadvantages. And I hesitate to call them disadvantages because the car really doesn't have any bad points, neither does the road car. It's more just a case of stuff which it isn't quite as good at, such as top-end performance, and in the case of this car, that is also present. This isn't a particularly strong top-speed racer, but I don't think you would have expected it to be. If this turned out to be a 220, 230 mile per hour machine, it would be an amazing sleeper, but it doesn't do that, and that's not surprising. The acceleration, though, is good, the handling is excellent, as you'd expect it to be, and this Civic, in both road and race form, has something which I've mentioned with a few other cars before, and that is a good driving manner, good drivability, if you will. Because on the channel before, I've mentioned that I consider handling, drivability, and control, as well as other things, to all be very different terms with regards to the way the car handles as a very broad term. The way that a car handles can be relatively cut and dried. Does it handle well or badly? But it really goes deeper than that. And that's where stuff like drivability comes into play, because drivability is more about the character of the car, how it handles itself, not just how it goes around corners or how fast it can go around corners, but how it feels when you're driving through the corners. Is it fun? Does it feel like you're on the limit and the car's about to lose control, or does it feel like you've got room to move? That is drivability. And that is one of the best things about this generation of Civic, at least in my opinion. Overall, this car probably won't blow your mind, but if you're a fan of lesser used, real old school race cars, touring cars in particular for this case, then this doesn't really disappoint. It's a great little hot hatch based race car, has superb handling. The handling is, I would say, very similar to the road car, which isn't too surprising, but at the same time actually really goes in the favour of the road car. To say that it handles in a similar way to the racing version really is a credit to that vehicle, but I think that's more just a case that the road car is already so good that you can't really go that far ahead with the racing version, and that really does feel like it's the case. Both cars handle extremely well. They're lightweight, they're pretty powerful for their engine size, and although they're not exactly the most useful of touring cars, you certainly won't be able to use it all the time, as a collector's piece, I would say first and foremost with the case of this one, it's a pretty fun car to have, and if you've got a spare 45 grand plus change for tuning, I'd recommend buying it. It won't be the kind of car that, as I said, you use every day, but you'll have fun with it. But that's it overall for this particular pick. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.